While my free agent predictions aren't off to the hottest start, let's see if my trade predictions can do any better. Let's go talk about it. Let's start off with Mitch Keller going to the Orioles. So the Orioles just traded away Grayson Rodriguez, who was once a top 10 prospect in all of Major League Baseball, to get back Taylor Ward. Now, my thinking is that the Orioles didn't want to take a chance on Rodriguez's health moving forward, and they want someone more steady. One guy that comes to mind is Mitch Keller. Now, since the Orioles have a surplus in bats now, especially in the outfield, and with the Pirates needing bats, their offense has absolutely stunk over the last couple of years, giving no run support to Paul Skeens. I think they're great trade partners. Now, Keller has been as steady as they come, ranking 10th in innings pitched going back to 2022 and throwing at least 175 innings over the last 3 seasons, something the Orioles could really use in the rotation. They've had a lot of injuries in the rotation, even outside of Grayson Rodriguez. Now, when it comes to Keller, he does give up a bit of hard contact, and righties tend to pull off him more, but that would fit well in the spacious left field out in Baltimore. Trevor Rogers emerged as the ace of the staff this past season, and with Kyle Bradish coming back, I think Keller, along with Bradish and Rogers, will give them a solid 1-2-3. As for the Pirates, they have a good amount of arms moving forward, even without Keller, but they need more offense. Now, since the Orioles just brought in Taylor Ward, they have a lot of outfielders now, including him, Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill, and Dylan Beavers, who showed some promise this past year, along with a couple of guys down in the minor leagues, including Enrique Bradfield Jr., along with Ike Irish, who they just drafted not too long ago. He can be a catcher and an outfielder, so the Orioles have a lot of outfielders in the mix right now. Now, maybe you could do something with Beavers. He hit very well in the minors last year that earned him a call-up. He's a solid young bat with a lot of control left, or if they would rather hang on to him, perhaps the Orioles could get creative and do something with Tyler O'Neill. They signed him to a 3-year deal last offseason, hoping to bring some pop to the middle of the order, but after a lot of injuries and low performance, that's not looking like a great contract right now. Now, his contract is underwater, so perhaps they could eat some of it and or attach another player or prospect. He would give the Pirates an immediate bat in the middle of the order, bouncing between DH. Of course, he would have to stay healthy, but if healthy, Tyler O'Neill is one of the better bats in the game. Maybe they could include another young outfielder, Heston Kjerstad. He was the number 2 pick back in 2020, hasn't fully found his way yet in Baltimore, so perhaps a change of scenery can do him some good. Whatever it is, I think these two teams match up very well, and they can help each other out big time. Up next, I have Kodai Senga getting moved to the Athletics. Now, the A's could really use a boost in the rotation after having some of the worst starting pitching in all of Major League Baseball last year. Now, with Kodai Senga, he was a big signing out of Japan for the Mets a couple of years ago, but after a successful first season, he struggled with injuries and inconsistencies over the last couple of years. Now, reports lately suggest the Mets are ready to move on from Senga so they can revamp their rotation. And why not the A's? They really need starting pitching over there, and with his AAV only at $15 million per year, that shouldn't be too crazy for the A's to take on, especially if they can get the Mets to eat a little bit of it. Now, with the A's farm system, they have been getting better as of late, and acquiring Senga shouldn't cost too much, which would help the A's be able to keep their best prospects. Now, when it comes to Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, it's been a haven for home runs, but with Senga, he has done well keeping the ball in the yard, allowing under a home run per 9 since 2023 when he came to the major leagues. Now, he would also bring a bit more name appeal to the A's, which could help with ticket sales. Let's stay in the AL West, and I have Sonny Gray heading to the Astros. Now, with Framber Valdez probably heading elsewhere, they're going to need to add some pitching into that rotation, and since they want to be competitive next year, I think Gray, who wants to compete at this point in his career, would be a great fit. Now, with the Cardinals, they are going into a bit of a reset, and clearing some payroll can help them moving forward. Now, he does have a pretty high salary for 2026, but I could see Chaim Bloom paying some of that down so we can get value in return, and I think the Astros are a great match as a trade partner since they don't have one of the better farm systems in Major League Baseball right now. They actually rank towards the bottom, so they wouldn't have to shell out a lot of prospects for him if they take on the majority of his salary. Another thing with Chaim to point out is he also has experience trading with the Astros in the past, acquiring Willie Abreu and Emmanuel Valdez for Christian Vasquez while he was running the Red Sox. So he's shown that he can identify young talent in trades for players that don't have a high trade surplus. Now, the Astros also haven't been afraid to take on salary in the past, and I think 1 year of Gray, minus the mutual option for 2027, of course, is something I could see them doing. Now, as for Gray, he's coming off another solid year with a very good strikeout to walk ratio. Now, last year, the ERA was at a 3.28, but the FIP was a lot better at a 3.39 over the 32 starts, 180 and 2/3 innings pitched. He's been a workhorse over the last few years, but 10 strikeouts per 9 and 1.9 home runs per 9. Sonny Gray continues to be one of the more solid pitchers in the game. I also think he would be a good fit in Houston's ballpark because in his career, he hasn't let righties pull off him very much, which does fit well with the Crawford boxes out in left field. Now with Hunter Brown and Sonny Gray, along with guys like Ronel Blanco, Lance McCullers Jr., and Spencer Arrighetti, who are hopefully healthy for 2026, this can end up being a solid rotation. You know, coming up with all these mock trades isn't easy. Everyone usually hates them and yells at me about them, but to be able to withstand that, I've got to build a good foundation, which is why I start every morning with not just a wonderful cup of coffee, but also AG1. Now, for the past few weeks, I've been drinking AG1 every single morning to stay one scoop ahead, both mentally and physically. With over 75 vitamins, minerals, and 5 probiotic strains, AG1 Next Gen gives me the energy I need for the day, helps out with the gut health, and helps support the immune system, which is big around this time of the year when routines get messy and traveling ramps up for the holidays. One scoop with cold water first thing in the morning, and I'm good to go. There's different flavors too, like citrus, tropical, and berry, but lately I've just been going with the original flavor. I think it tastes great. Now, of course, I do think you need to have a well-balanced diet along with a good exercise plan, but having AG1 gives me the peace of mind that I'm filling in common nutrient gaps. Now, if you want to give it a try, go to drinkag1.com/RobbieHyde or scan the QR code on the screen to get your free welcome kit. It includes a shaker bottle, vitamin D3 plus K2 drops, and a sample pack of all 3 AG1 flavors. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. One guy that was connected with the Red Sox a little while back was Joe Ryan, but I have him going to the Mets. Now, I would love for my Red Sox to land Joe Ryan after they infamously acquired him at the deadline, and then all of a sudden it didn't happen. But in the end, I say he ends up going to Queens. Now, the Mets need to add to the top of the rotation. Like I said earlier, they're trying to revamp things over there, since their rotation was pretty middle of the road last year, only ranking 13th in Fangraph wins above replacement and 18th in ERA. Now, Derek Falvey of the Twins has come out and said that he wants to build around Joe Ryan, but with teams like the Mets needing starting pitching, especially when they can offer young and talented cost-controlled pitching, I think they'll eventually give in. Now, I think Ryan would be a solid option for them. He's more of a fly ball pitcher, which does fit well at Citi Field. The Mets can lead with the package led by either Jonah Tong or Brandon Sproat, while also being able to send back good position player talent like Jet Williams and guys with power upside like Jacob Reimer or Ryan Clifford. They got some other young talent they could throw in there as well, getting closer to Major League ready, like Jonathan Santucci or Nick Morabito, and I think they can line up on something here. Now, the Mets, they get a consistent arm for the top of the rotation, while the Twins add cost-controlled young talent that fits more into their competitive window. Speaking of the Red Sox, let's talk about Jarren Duran, and I think he ends up with the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the Reds' offense last year was very up and down. They had a lot of injuries as well, and they could really use another bat in there. I think Jarren Duran makes a lot of sense for them, since their outfield only ranked 19th in offense last year. Now, when it comes to the Reds, they usually don't go out in free agency and spend big money, so I wouldn't expect them to sign Kyle Tucker, Kyle Schwarber, Cody Bellinger, or Pete Alonso. However, they have the assets both in the minor leagues and at the major league level, especially on the pitching front, to get a deal done. One team that needs pitching are the Red Sox, and since they have a surplus of outfielders, I think the Red Sox and the Reds line up very well here. Now, I think Duran in Cincinnati would be a great fit because he can slide right into left or center field with TJ Friedl, however they would want to do it. And with a hitter-friendly park, I think Duran could definitely have a boost in home runs. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him hit 25 to 30 home runs there. Put him near the top of the lineup with TJ Friedl, Elly De La Cruz, Noel V. Marte, and Sal Stewart, and that could be a pretty dynamic top and middle of the order. As for the Red Sox, the Reds could be the answer for them when it comes to adding a number 2 behind Garrett Crochet. Could Hunter Green be an option for them? Now, it would absolutely take more than just Duran. The Red Sox would probably have to include one of their top pitching prospects, Peyton Toley, who's currently a top 30 prospect in all of Major League Baseball, or maybe Connolly Early, who looked really good after his call-up last year, and he even started in the postseason against the Yankees. But I think they can get a deal done here with Duran, one of their top pitching prospects, and other pieces as well. Now, would the Reds trade Hunter Green, though? Well, I'm not so sure about that one, but Reds GM Nick Krall hasn't really given a flat-out no way to it. Also, Reds beat writer Mark Sheldon wrote recently that people within the Reds organization have questioned Green's leadership, thinking he could have come back sooner from a hip injury last season because he had a clean MRI. Now, Krall did come out and defend Green, saying only Green knows how he actually feels, but it's interesting to keep an eye on. Now, if not Hunter Green, the Reds do have other guys like Andrew Abbott, who's coming off a 4 F4 season, and maybe even Nick Lodolo, who's coming off the best season of his career. Whatever it is, I think the teams line up very well to help each other's needs. The Red Sox needing a number 2 behind Garrett Crochet, and the Reds needing a boost in offense. And if not Jarren Duran, maybe they could do something for Wilyer Abreu, and Noel V. Marte could move out to left field. On to the Red Sox rivals, the Yankees, and I think they pull off a trade for Brendan Donovan. So now that Trent Grisham has accepted the QO to return to the Yankees, which a lot of Yankee fans are not very happy about, this does make things a lot more complicated for the Yankees moving forward when it comes to bringing back either Cody Bellinger or going after Kyle Tucker. Now, if they don't go the distance to bring back Bellinger or sign Tucker long term, then I think Donovan could be a great fit for them. He makes a ton of contact, ranking 11th in contact percentage this past year, and he has a good track record hitting leadoff, something the Yankees could use more of. Now, out of the leadoff spot last year, the Yankees only ranked 17th in on-base percentage, and overall for the year, they only ranked 23rd in contact percentage. Now, another thing with Donovan is he has 2 more years of control left, and with his versatility, that could be very valuable, especially if Jazz Chisholm ends up going elsewhere after next season, since he's going to be a free agent. Now, with the Cardinals, like I said earlier, they're going through a bit of a reset, and new president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, I think would love to bring in some young major league talent with a lot of control, or just some solid prospects. Now, the Yankees could offer either of those with either Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones. Now, if they went with Dominguez in a trade, who I think still has a lot of potential, he would have an opportunity to play every day with the Cardinals, something the Yankees wouldn't give him this past year, while Donovan can be a solid everyday player for them. I also think he would be very valuable for the Yankees because they don't have a lot of players with a ton of versatility. I think they need more of that. I think Donovan would be perfect. Now, because Dominguez has a lot of potential, I could see the Yankees hanging on to him, so maybe they can go with Spencer Jones, who has a ton of power upside despite a lot of strikeouts. And the Yankees can keep working Dominguez in for another year until Grisham hits free agency again. So I say offer one of these guys and perhaps a couple of the Yankees pitching prospects, which they have a lot of getting closer to Major League ready, like Carlos LaGrange, Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, Ben Hess, or Bryce Cunningham. Now, before I get to my last trade prediction, I'm going to go over a few guys that I think are going to stand pat. I think Freddie Peralta, Mackenzie Gore, and Steven Kwan end up staying. Now, for Freddie Peralta, sure, he only has 1 year remaining until free agency, and the Brewers have shown in the past that they like to move off of those guys before they hit free agency so they can get value back for them. But I think this one is a little bit different. Now, the Brewers, they were just in the NLCS against the Dodgers. They were a great team this past year, and I think they would like to hang on to him, add a little bit more to the team to try and go for it again. Another thing, too, is the Brewers organization and Peralta have a great relationship, so I wonder if this could be a rare time for the Brewers to extend him like they did with Christian Yelich a while back. They usually don't give out big contracts, but maybe this could be an exception. As for Mackenzie Gore, he definitely feels like a guy that can be traded, but I wonder if the Nationals hold off for now. Paul Taboni just took over as the new president of baseball operations there, so I think he could take his time to evaluate everything in the organization. Gore also had a bad second half, so I wonder if that would prevent them from getting a strong enough offer to their liking. I could see the Nationals just hanging on to him, making a few tweaks for him to try and be a bit more consistent, and then if they're out of it by the deadline, they can just move him then. Now, for Steven Kwan, I think he would be a great fit for teams like the Dodgers, Yankees, or Mariners because I think they could use a bit more contact percentage, but after coming off a down year compared to his usual numbers, I wonder if Cleveland would feel like they would get enough back to their liking. Now, if Cleveland needs to improve anywhere, it's adding to the offense around Kwan, especially more pop in the lineup since they only ranked 29th in slugging percentage this past year. Let's wrap this up with a blockbuster, and I'm going to go with Tarik Skubal to the Mariners. Now, I know we've been hearing about the Tigers maybe being more inclined to keep Skubal, and honestly, I hope they do. I don't see how the Tigers front office just sits there and says, nah, we don't want to sign him to a big money deal when he's the best freaking pitcher on the planet right now, winning back-to-back Cy Young Awards, and they have the money to get a deal done. Make him the richest pitcher in baseball history. He's absolutely deserved it. He should be the face of the franchise to the Tigers moving forward. I can't believe the Tigers haven't extended him already. But I can't help but think back to John Heyman's report of them offering him under $100 million over 4 years over a year ago. And I hope I'm wrong, but that tells me they're probably not going to go the extra mile to get a deal done. I hope they do. I hope they come to their senses and they figure it out. Please keep Tarik Skubal in Detroit for life. And sure, they could just keep him and try again in 2026, but if you don't plan on signing him, are you really just not going to use his value to land a big package? Now, they have a new crop of young talent coming up soon with Kevin McGonigal, Max Clark, and Josue Briseño just among a few of them, so they could get back some young guys that could also fit into that window. Now, for the Mariners, at least in my opinion, they not only have the prospects, but they have the motivation and flexibility to get a deal done. You got to remember with Tarik Skubal, you got to be planning on only to acquire him for 1 year. If the Tigers don't sign him to an extension, I would imagine he's going to go out into free agency and go find the richest deal of all time for a pitcher. But for the Mariners, I think they have the flexibility to get a deal done because they have so many prospects there, along with so much young talent already at the major league level. So I could see them trading for Skubal, and if he ends up leaving anyway, then I feel like they wouldn't feel a whole lot of pain after that. I think it would also be great for the Mariners fan base who've been dying for a winner there in Seattle, and they were just 8 outs away from a World Series. So again, they have a ton of young talent, including some that I think are expendable without it hurting too much to get a deal done. Someone like Bryce Miller, who's shown a lot of upside, is a major league ready arm with a lot of control left that pair him with some kind of combination of prospects that could include Harry Ford, Lazaro Montes, Jarren Senga, Ryan Sloan, and I think that could be pretty enticing. I mean, even if not someone like Bryce Miller, maybe just a big package of young talent, some prospects that could fit into the Tigers' next window. Whatever it is, I think the Mariners line up very well here, and never doubt Jerry Dipoto on pulling off a blockbuster deal. Now, I could see other teams out there getting in the mix, like the Mets. They've been a popular landing spot for a potential Skubal trade. You can never count out the Dodgers to get a deal done. They're always looking to make moves. But in the end, I think the Mariners are the best suited because they have the prospects that I think are expendable that wouldn't hurt long-term to give them up, and they have the motivation after being so close to a World Series. But everybody, those are my predictions for trades this coming off season. Let me know your trade predictions down below in the comments. Give me some mock trades down below. I love looking at mock trades. But everybody, that's all I got for right now. If you can on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.